Welcome to HerFinance Talk. My name is Sue Diamond and I'm your host, and our goal is to provide our listeners with inspiring and encouraging experiences by sharing the journeys and successes of other women with a variety of topics related to financial empowerment so you can create the life you want to live. Thanks for joining us and investing in your financial well-being. HerFinance Talk is brought to you by the HerFinance Club, and our mission is to socialize the idea that it's okay for women to talk about money because knowledge is power, and when that knowledge helps you become more independent, it translates to empowerment. Women empowering women is a mantra we love to live by, and one that has helped inspire women for decades. Where would we be without each other? So today we're going to be talking about how to reclaim control of your finances. So Adrian, thank you for joining us today. And Adrian's going to be sharing some really good tips with us in terms of reclaiming control of your finances. By increasing our understanding of financial literacy, we can make more informed decisions about our money, as well as build a secure financial future. So we should look at ways to save more money as well as pay down debt. So today, Adrian Gentilcore, who is the founder of Start a New Chapter Consulting, is going to be talking to us about reclaiming your finances. She's going to share some tips on her guide to getting out of debt. Adrian has nearly 30 years experience as a financial analyst. One of those companies was with Wells Fargo. And she has also been a popular lifestyle and finance blogger for the last 15 years. And she recently created a new site that is dedicated to personal finance and helping people get out of debt. And of course, her new company is Start a New Chapter Consulting. So I'd love to open up, Adrian, our conversation and have you expand on your story, who you are, what led you to becoming a financial analyst, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, yes. I worked in the corporate world actually for 40 years for a variety of companies, but I was always in some type of a finance role. I was working for the CFO or I was working in some type of a financial capacity. And when I was at Wells Fargo, they promoted me to become a financial analyst. And I was there for almost 30 years and I loved it. Love spreadsheets, love crunching numbers, love enormous databases of data. And I love to pull the story out of that. And that's the value that I was bringing to Wells Fargo, was being able to take an immense chunk of data, which in some cases was more than 1 million entries, and pull a story out of it to say, okay, here's what's going on. Here's what can be fixed. Here's where you can save money. And I saved them $5 million over
Wow.
the course of my career. And when I left, they had to replace me with 3 people. So that tells you that I was providing way too much value to them and they were providing way too little value to me. So all along I had had this blog and I just started sharing little tips about, how to pay for college, how to get out of debt, how women should be preparing for retirement, how to manage their over shopping. I am a huge shopaholic. So I've had to learn through trial and error how I can get that under control. And I love to help other women get that under control as well. So that is a big portion of my content, is revolving around, I have a saying called good fences make good neighbors. How can you put a fence between yourself and unwanted spending? How can you, take the app off your phone, take the credit card out of the app? How can you pay cash for things? All sorts of behaviors that will lead you to more controlled spending, because that's a big problem. I think especially for women, men do it too. Don't get me wrong, but we're the ones who are out at Target because we're bored in buying stuff we don't need. And my other part of what I do is decluttering. So I'm also dealing with the clutter that has come from the over shopping. So, I was kind of covering both things and travel and parenting, and it was just too much for the one lifestyle blog. So just this year, I mean, literally January 2023, I created my new site. I created my new, business structure. And now I am completely focused on that site, just on personal finance so that I can kind of consolidate different bits and pieces that I've been putting together on my other two blogs. So that's what I'm doing, and I love it. I've been doing debt-free coaching for about 6 years, and I've helped hundreds of people, which is such a great feeling. And I love to sit with these people and find out what their challenges are and give them new ideas and put them in new directions. And, each one is as unique as a fingerprint. So I love that part that, it kind of challenges me with each new client to say, okay, how can I help them solve the problem? How can I give them a new spin on this? How can I give them a new idea? So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I think when I hear you say, like, pull the story from the
Yeah.
spreadsheet, it's like everything is tied to a story, right? I mean, from,
Exactly.
what you do, from what I do. And as you mentioned, like each client is unique. We all have our own unique money stories, right?
Absolutely do. Yeah.
And I think there can't be enough resources. And of course, I focus predominantly with women, but there just can't be enough resources because when we think about the obstacles that are unique to women, it's so important for them to really start to look at how can I ensure that I have a secure future so they can avoid being
Yeah.
the bag lady on the street when it comes to retirement. It really is looking at some of these resources that we can access and some of the tools that we can utilize. But
Yeah.
I like when we talk about the emotional shopping because I deal with a number of
Yes.
clients who experience that. And it's controlled, but it's also tied to intentional as well. So if they tie it back to their values and what matters to them, that's also key, I think, in terms of accessing tools to help them manage
Yeah.
some of those behaviors. So, what would you say? What's your mission?
Oh gosh, my mission, I think, just in life in general, is just to help anyone I can in any way that I can. Because that just to me, if you're to a point where you're doing well, it's your obligation to help others who are not doing well for whatever reason. And there are many reasons that are very valid and very difficult. And, other people don't have certain advantages, don't have education, don't have this, don't have that. So if
Yeah,
there's any way that I can help them, I feel that's my responsibility in life as a way of showing gratitude for the good path that I happen to have been placed on.
right.
So, yeah, I think that's just it's karma, if you wanna say, yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about your latest endeavor in terms of how to pay off $500 in debt in
Yes.
30 days.
I'm so excited
Incredible.
about this. I think this is just wonderful. I'm very uncomfortable on camera, so the fact that I filmed the video, I created the slides, I did the whole thing, I came up with this whole program, I'm really proud of myself, and I think that's okay to say. I think it's great for women to say, "I'm proud of this, I created something, it has value, and I'm happy to put this out in the world to help people and to help, kind of lead them into the more paid services that I do." But this is a freebie and it walks you through 5 different ways that you can find to pay off $500 of your debt within 30 days, which is huge. It's huge. Think about that. If you can pay your debt off $500 earlier, think of how much interest you're saving. And once you get into these good habits, if you can continue that month after month, you can not only get your debt paid off probably months or years earlier, but then you can have an extra $500 to tuck in your pocket for retirement, for college, for remodeling your kitchen, taking a wonderful vacation, any number of wonderful things that debt is preventing you from doing right now. So that's where I got into that. And some of it is about behaviors where you are saving money, and some of it is about behaviors where you are earning money. And so I have different tips for both to say, okay, here's a couple of ways that you can save, here's a couple of ways that you can earn. And when I broke it down, $500 sounds like a tremendous amount, sounds unreachable, but it's $125 a week. It's 16.66 cents a day. And really, that makes it so much more manageable to say, could you find a way to either save or earn $16 a day? You bet you could. And I'm going to show you how. And so, that's what this whole thing is about, is to find ways that you can find that $16 a day and then apply it to your debt. And, I hate paying interest to these big fat cat businessmen who run these credit card companies. I do not want to put 1 cent in their pocket. And so if I can come up with these ways that I can get my debt paid off $500 faster, I'm all over it. So I think that's the value that freebie brings to the world, to say, don't get choked up over the big dollars. Break it down, look at it in bite-sized pieces, look at it, just say, oh, there's 5 different ways. Well, if you can save $25 a week with each of them, done. And so,
Right.
yeah, I think that makes it much more relatable, much more manageable, and much more achievable.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I
yeah,
think that's sometimes it's certainly, I think when we think about goals or New Year's resolutions, or
yeah, well,
when we think about, we will think about, okay, I want to, I don't know, save $10,000 this year. Well,
okay,
it's too big.
yeah,
So we have to break it down, as you say, because it makes it much more achievable. It's much more manageable. And when you think about it, when you say $500 versus $16 a day,
yeah,
immediately we think, oh, well, that's kind of manageable. If I'm buying 2 Starbucks a day, I can save that no problem. Not that it's
yeah,
about, taking away your little luxuries, but it's really looking at,
yeah,
wants versus needs as well, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Which is
but
called
I want abs, but I need chocolate.
and I think the other thing with this is because money is so much more than just currency because of all the emotions and of course the behaviors that come with it. And
Right.
sometimes, our avoidance when it comes to not wanting to deal with discomfort. But again, if you can, as you have here, Adrian, start to look at how can I reduce my debt and do it in a way that's manageable. Once you start having those successes, then you're going to be wanting to do more. And it becomes less overwhelming. And I think that's also key that, you had made a statement just in terms of feeling uncomfortable doing the videos. And there's all sorts of things we feel uncomfortable doing, but we're not going to change that until we step into being uncomfortable, which can change and start to become comfortable for us. So I'm just thinking, maybe if you could share one of the things we don't always realize how many options are out there in terms of side hustles. So I know one of your stats is having smart side hustles.
Yes.
If I saw that,
I am.
and
I am a queen of the side hustles. And you know what? When things got really bad at Wells Fargo and I was very unhappy and whatnot, because I had been running a very productive and profitable side hustle for 6 years, I got this wonderful little trap door that I could just exit out of my unhappy job and straight into running a full-time business. And that was, that's a whole other crazy story. But because I had that going, all of my friends were still there and they were all my same age. And I was able to retire 7 years ahead of schedule because I had this wonderful little side hustle going. I was a Pinterest manager. I was building websites for people. I was doing all this stuff under the radar. No one knew. No one knew that I was running these blogs. I kept very quiet about it. But I had this whole little thing and I was making probably a third of my salary at that point. And I thought, well, if I drop out of the rat race and just do this full time, then I can replace my corporate salary. And I did, despite several rather major challenges along the way. So you just never know, but it's so nice to have that option. Everyone thinks, oh, you've got to just work this job and stick with it and put up with all this. And I look back and I think, why did I let people treat me so badly? Why did I let my company dictate so much to me? Why did I let them give me the work of three different people when I should have said, no, if you're going to do that, then you've got to pay me like you're paying three different people.
Right.
So, women are such pleasers. And, I like the feeling of achievement and whatnot. And I did get a lovely trip to New Orleans with my husband out of it. But I'm thinking, okay, if I was a male executive who had saved the company $5 million in documented, undisputable savings, I would have gotten a really big fat bonus out of that. And that did not happen. So that's another way that women don't ask, women don't put themselves forward, women don't set the boundary to say, no, if you want my best work, then I need my best pay out of it. So, that's
Yeah.
just an example of how women get taken advantage of in the marketplace.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think the other side to that is we're our own worst enemy in most
Yes.
instances
Yeah.
because we're such perfectionists, right?
Yeah.
And we second guess ourselves. So when we
Yeah.
think in terms of doing a job, it's like we want to do our best, we want to prove ourselves,
Mhm.
and we don't necessarily step out of our comfort zone to say,
Yeah.
okay, I think I'm doing a great job here, or I've earned this amount of money for the company.
Mhm.
I think in terms of how I've helped the company move forward, that I'm deserving of an increase or bringing that up during your evaluation. But I think that's tied back to us as women, not just as perfectionists, but also we, well, for me growing up, it was if you talked about what you were really good at, you were considered boasting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we tend
Yeah.
to think not so much about this is a really good strength that I have, and I need to share this because ultimately, if I think I'm going to get noticed for it, that's
Mhm.
potentially not going to happen. So I have to
Yeah.
be willing to share what my skills and strengths are. But we don't
Exactly.
necessarily feel comfortable doing that because we considered it more as kind of boasting or showing off. Etc. So we've definitely got to get better at that. But as you said, that's a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion in terms
Yes.
of going back to our cultural and mindset beliefs. But the other thing that you had mentioned that you talk about, and we'll show your YouTube video link in the show notes so
Great.
listeners can go directly to view that. But, isn't it amazing? It's like in terms of selling, like selling unwanted stuff. And I don't know if people realize as much. I mean, I know everybody does the yard sales periodically, but just in terms of Facebook Marketplace and other
Mhm.
opportunities, I mean, one man's junk is often another man's treasure, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I've sold 3 cars on there at least. And I've sold furniture and I've sold clothing. I've sold all sorts of interesting things. And, you do there. And there are things that we had in yard sales that no one would touch. but because of the electronic medium, we were able to reach people that didn't live in our neighborhood that were interested in what we were able to sell. And I had women just absolutely fighting over all of my mother's knitting machines. She had these knitting machines, she had tubs and tubs of yarn. She had invested heavily in this hobby and then got tired of it. And we tried it at a yard sale. We couldn't sell it for pennies. And I put it out on eBay back when eBay was the new, cool, fabulous thing. And oh, I had women just fighting over it. And do you have this? What about this? Da, 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 da. And the bidding would go up and it was delightful. It was really
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's key for just our listeners to know whether it be reducing our debt and or saving, that there are so many different ways that you can be creative to make money, and especially with the internet at your fingertips. I think there really are opportunities for us, but we don't necessarily always think about that. I know I don't always. But anyway, do you have a tip that you would like to leave or an offer to make to our listeners
Yes.
today?
Yes, I absolutely do. The freebie, $500 of debt is my little freebie. And, I'll share a link to that in the show notes. But I have a paid coaching offer, which is actually very simple and takes about 30 minutes of your time. It's not a big deal. And I look at your debt and look at your budget and whatnot and give you solutions. And I call that my no BS financial freedom framework because I like catchy names. And that is something where I've done that with a lot of people. And I sit down and just show you some spreadsheets and things that will give you a different view of your financial picture and give you some options and some ideas. And, I'm really a think outside the box person. So I'm going to be able to come up with some options that you've never thought of. Not crazy stuff, sensible stuff, but it's kind of like Dave Ramsey's debt snowball type stuff. And sometimes people just need a little hand holding and need a little push in the right direction. And that's what I'm offering. So I'm offering a discount to your readers. I will give them a $20 discount on the service. So the code is 20 bucks off and you'll have that in the notes. So you will get a discount just for your readers. And I'm hoping that lots of people take advantage of this because I can't think of anyone who really wouldn't benefit from this to just have an outside person look at what's going on in your finances and just give you some little tweaks that could just make a big difference. So that's exciting to be able to offer that.
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Well, we are coming to our close on the hour. I can't believe how quickly these get. Thank you, Adrian, so much, for
Welcome.
sharing your story and your expertise and telling our listeners about the tools that you have available that can help them reduce their debt. It's been a pleasure. And again, as Adrian mentioned, we will have links in the show notes so you can access everything that we've been talking about today. So again, Financial Literacy Month is a great reminder to take a few small steps to help you improve your financial health and make better money decisions. So, one of the things I want to do is I want to challenge our listeners to quiz themselves to learn more about their money personality. What is your money MO? Do you save every dime or do you live it up every day? Do you avoid the topic of money altogether? Are you a grade A spendthrift? Are you a balanced budgeter? Or are you a thrifting whiz? The thing here is managing your money requires self awareness, and knowing what kind of consumer you are also allows you to adjust slightly and achieve your financial and personal goals. So, with the quiz, it will help you identify your money style so you can build on your strength and compensate for your weaknesses. So, again, thank you for taking time to be here today, listeners, and investing in your financial well being. Let me take the time to remind everyone that the HerFinance Talk is brought to you by the HerFinance Club, where we support financial feminism, which stands for financial inclusion and equality for women, not only relating to their earnings, but also to building and keeping wealth. I just mentioned the quiz. There are some other resources to support you on your journey to wealth and abundance, and you'll find all those links in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe because we also love your feedback. Get your personal finance question answered or share a win with the community by leaving us a voicemail, and you might be featured on HerFinance Talk. So until the next time, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you. Goodbye.